All right, this is going to be an interesting show tonight. Look who's sitting next to me, James Finch. Have you ever heard of this guy? All right, I want to let some folks catch up and get on with this because we're going to be showing you stuff like that right there. I mean, I'm telling you, you're going to see stuff and hear stuff even I didn't know until just last week when I was talking to James about these. These are the invoices essentially where Mayor Margot Anderson of Lynn Haven went to Sheriff Tommy Ford on April 1st of 2019 and said, hey, I found some invoices and there's some serious FEMA theft going on. And again, it was April 1st, but the joke was on her because Sheriff Tommy Ford and the FBI threw these two under the bus. Wait till you hear where James was during the hurricane. If you already know the story, it's quite remarkable. All right, let me begin by letting you know that, elections are next month, including in Lynn Haven. There are people running in Lynn Haven. Judy Tinder, the former commissioner, she's running, and I sure hope that she gets elected because she's got a track history that you can count on of integrity. Wouldn't you agree, James?
The only one with integrity.
The only one that's really shown it. Absolutely. But there are other races, and I've got a few paid ads while people are jumping on board. I want you to remember that there are people running in Panama City that want to bring some fiscal sanity like Ed Young.
We have 3 city managers in Panama City. The first one, the chief one, makes $175,000 a year, and each assistant makes $125,000 a year, about $500,000 in one office alone. We have 714 employees in the city. We got 5 division heads. I've been in Air Force flights, wings, and commands. I've been in platoons in law enforcement. These numbers make no sense to me.
Vote for Ed Young for Panama City Commissioner, Ward 1, on or before April 22nd. And there's one more guy who is a conservative, a real conservative, not a rhino, like the guy he's running against, the incumbent, Josh Street. So if you're in that ward, you've got a chance to vote Josh Street out by voting for Demetrius Reese.
We need to stop wasteful spending. We can see examples of that with the Chestnut property deal that was just passed several weeks ago. Again, as Mayor Rohan had already mentioned, properties worth $800,000. We paid well over $1 million for it. It's just wasteful spending at the taxpayer's dime. In addition to that, I think improvement in transparency and community engagement is paramount.
Vote for Demetrius Reese for Panama City Commissioner, Ward 4, on or before April 22nd. So you may recall that James Finch here, 2 juries refused to convict James Finch for defrauding the city of Lynn Haven because, as I told you, I was there, I reported, it was unbelievable, it was outrageous. 79 counts against James Finch and Margot Anderson. All 79 were bogus and unbelievable. So what really happened is the question. What about these 5 invoices? That's what we're going to go over tonight. You're not going to believe the story. But also, the couple of the folks are still there, James. The contracts manager is still there. What's she up to now? Vicky Gaynor.
Well, the same, I'm sure. But Vicky's not took any responsibility of anything. And there's several suits against the city of Lynn Haven. And I've warned them that she was the common denominator of all of them. And the city is going to be liable for several $100,000 before it's over with.
At least.
And so they put out this letter, to make everybody happy and think that they're doing a good job. And
this is recent?
This is today. And it says avoid unlicensed contractors. Well, Vicky should read that.
Wait. ECS is the company after the hurricane that got the $5 million, and the owner's Mickey White, and I don't think he had a license.
They didn't have any license.
and who was the contract manager?
Vicky Gaynor. It's on the contract. Got a copy of the contract.
Yeah. Let's take a look at that.
And she was the contractor, which she says she didn't have anything to do with it. There it is. If you public records relating to this contract, contact the deputy city clerk, Vicky Gaynor. She was also the contracts manager, what she claimed in her deposition. And the first thing on the contract you can see was you're supposed to make sure the contractor has a license.
And that's per city charter.
Yeah.
There's the city charter right there.
In the state law. It's supposed to, the city cannot do business with anybody that doesn't have a contractor's license.
So this was in 2018. Hurricane Michael was in October of 2018. She's the contracts manager. Whose responsibility is it? Because this is not a strong mayor city.
Well,
It would be the city manager, Michael White, and her.
that's right. She's on there. That you have any problem with the contract, you contact Vicky Gaynor. It's in the contract.
Mhm.
And so she didn't check him for his contractor license or anything. She evidently didn't check the invoices, but she says she didn't have anything to do with that. It was debris. She was putting the city together. Well, they had 3 national contractors that was hauling the debris. And when you see these invoices, all you had to do was FEMA had counted every load that went to the landfill and documented who took them there.
Mhm.
And he didn't have any documentation of taking anything there, but nobody checked.
Well, what if somebody checked, James? What if somebody had checked from the beginning? What if the contracts manager said, you need a license, Mickey, so we can't use ECS? I think she testified about that.
That's right. But they also asked her if
Right
you
there.
went through all these irregularities in the statements, that would probably stop the fraud in its tracks. In her words, according to her testimony, is absolutely.
And this is under oath at one of the evidentiary hearings that I attended.
That's true. And absolutely was truth. And then she started bragging about how great it was to work for Michael White and how he'd done so much good for the city.
Yeah, I remember this. I think it was your attorney at the time, Guy Lewis, said while Vicky Gaynor was under oath on the witness stand in front of federal judge Mark Walker, said you texted Michael White throughout your relationship with him. He says, about what a great job he was doing. How blessed. I remember seeing that text. How blessed you were. How hardworking he was. But this is the crazy part. The next part, James.
Yeah.
Do you know how much he wound up? The total amount he wound up stealing from the government, Lynn Haven? Do you know what the total is? She says yes. How much is that? Oh, I cut it off. She says $5 million. And then he said, you still think he did a good job? She said yes.
Good choice of character, she said.
Yeah. That is absolutely incredible.
And, now, with the new city building and everything, I've been up there when several people's asked financial questions about it. They put a spin on it. I got up in the commission meeting and said, listen, I will pay for an audit and you've turned it over to the citizens. I didn't have nobody say that's a hell of a good deal. You gonna pay for it? Use our people? But
This was a few months ago, right? You went up there and
a couple months, yes.
Yeah, you offered, you said, look, I will pay. We'll find a third party, not my party, not your party, a third party.
No, I told them I would let their party. I said, if Jay Moody's still working for y'all, I said, I know him to be an honest guy. I'll pay him to do the audit, or they can get somebody else.
And nobody made a motion.
Nothing. I said, if I'd have been a commissioner, I'd have said, wait a minute, you're going to pay for an audit and it's not going to cost us anything. All we got to do is turn it over to the citizen. Yes. I thought that would be a hell of a deal.
It's a hell of a deal. And you'll just get more trouble, James. The whole thing was because you gave too much money to the city on that big loan.
Yes.
No good deed goes
Let me
unpunished.
tell you something. I loaned the city. I agreed to loan the city $5.2 million to fix the worst thing the city had. They had a 50-year-old ditch over there that was 15 foot wide, 10 foot deep. People got killed in it when they turned over in it. And it was the worst eyesore in the city for 50 years or more. And they said it was going to take $7.5 million. I looked at it and says, I'll do it for 5.2. And then the guy says, well, how do we know that you're not going to have all these change orders and all that? I said, well, I tell you what I'll do. I said, I'll complete the job, get it all certified, and then you pay me. That way you know how much you got in it, right?
It was the craziest thing. It was unbelievable.
So anyway, I completed the project and did take the $5.2 million. It took $4.4 million because the county assistant county manager now was the city manager at the time. Joel Schubert, and Joel Schubert worked with the DOT and got, I think, around $800,000 paid for by the DOT. So I didn't use all the $5.2 million. So they come to me after the fact and said, look, we want to do some more projects. Will you loan us the rest of that $5.2 million? And I said, well, I need to see a scope of work. So I got the scope of work, and it was to fix Colorado Avenue by Vicky's new house and some of the other places around there. And I said, okay, I'll loan you the money and do that.
At half the interest rate that the banks were charging.
Less than that.
Wow.
It was 2.5%, 2.55%. And
banks were charging like 6
for 30 years.
Yeah.
And you know, like I was going to be around to get to 30 years.
I saw the video from that meeting, and all of the commissioners, it was unanimous. Everybody thanked you. Everybody was happy. But when I saw you in trial, when I saw the jury, they were trying to say, don't worry, if it was a good job, James Finch is going to get rich when he gets that last payment.
Yeah.
When you're 95 years old, James.
A bit more than that.
Right. You're going to be rich.
But
Well, let's talk about these. I think let's talk about these invoices.
Well, let me tell you about the $4.4 million.
Okay. Yeah. This is the one that you paid,
Yes.
that you loaned to fix the 17th Street ditch.
So I loaned them $4.4 million, whatever it was, for 30 years at 2.5%. And so when I went up there and offered to do that audit and all that
Recently, yeah.
and they turned it down, I didn't know they had on the agenda, and I left to pay me off. The city paid me off. I get a check. I look at the check, it's certified. It went to Pensacola and then come back to Lynn Haven, instead of just calling me up or running around there. So I get the check, and it's a payoff for the 4.3. The check was 4.3 million and something dollars. I couldn't believe it. I said, they could have bought annuity for the annuity was paying 5.45. They could have bought the annuities and kept buying the annuities and let the interest pay it off. And when it got through paid off, they would have still had the 4.4 million. So, I mean, I couldn't believe that they were that stupid.
Well, look who we've got. The decision makers. We've got Vicky Gaynor. We've got Mayor Jesse Nelson, the doctor of leadership. You got Sam Peebles. I mean, the people up there don't understand this stuff.
Well, I mean, you should be able to know the difference between, if they would have asked me and said, listen, we're thinking about paying that note off. Would you discount it? I said, yeah, take $100,000.
They didn't even ask that.
They didn't even ask. I said, I'd have discounted it a couple $100,000 and went and put it in at 5.45.
Yeah, if they don't want the money, you'll take it.
And so right off, I knew Jesse wasn't a financial genius because I'd got his bankruptcy deal. Before he got elected, he filed Chapter 7 bankruptcy.
Up in Alabama, I think.
Yeah, and it comes down here. Well, he wrote this article. In the article, I'll quote it for you.
Is this recent?
Yeah, this is the January deal from the Lynn Haven Living. It says right here, the second area of being happiness is your finances. It's nearly impossible to be happy and healthy when your finances are out of order. The old adage, live within your means, is essential for happiness. This is him. Mayor Nelson's message to the people. Well, I guess being happy is leave the town you're in and go to a new place, and you don't have to face anybody. And then, but he's going to do that, turn down, and I hate even saying that, but the way he's he's turned into a racist. He's turned into a bully. He
has
bullied the people. Yeah. I mean, he's absolutely. If he's close to being a preacher, I'm close to being the president of the NAACP.
Well, I'll tell you what, if he's a doctor of leadership, I'm the gangster of love. I'll tell you that.
I mean, he's
Jesse Nelson's a fraud. Look, I've been covering this guy.
It is awful what has happened to the city commission up there. I've been there all my life. I love that city. And, Vicky Gaynor.
Do you think the voters are catching on?
Yes. I mean, the voters, I think that's why I'm here hoping they're going to catch on.
Yeah.
Because I've went through all this Just like Margot Anderson told me, she said, James, if you help me, they're going to indict you. I said, Margot, I'm your friend and I'm going to help you. So they brought all that
Well,
up.
not only that, you knew she was the whistleblower. You knew she was telling the truth.
I sent her there.
Yeah.
I was the one that told her. I called her to my office.
You had just gotten back from your recovery and you were up and around and you were driving down the road and you saw that bathroom.
I went by the city hall that was in those trailers, and I seen the bathroom that they were building beside those trailers. And so I said, Margo, I said, who's building that bathroom? This was in April now, around April
2019, right after
2019.
Yep.
The hurricane was in October. So they said that I was doing all this stuff. Well, a week before the hurricane come, I had a stroke, had a brain bleed, and I was in a coma for 15 or 16 days. And then I was in rehab for, 14 days. And they
Through
said
all of October,
Yes.
through the whole hurricane and aftermath.
Yeah, I didn't even know they had a hurricane.
I thought that would be a good alibi,
know,
James.
I thought the alibi was good, but they were saying in the indictments that I was in rehab like I'd been off on a damn drug or drunk or something.
Wow.
And so,
But this is important because I just learned this recently. James, talk about how Ricky Ramey, Chief Ramey, knew that you were very, very sick.
let me tell you something.
And he never said anything.
No, he didn't say a word. I go down, I leave the house, and when I was going out of the house, something popped in the back of my head.
This
I
was
said,
early
"Wow."
October.
It's October 6th, a week, 4 or 5 days before the hurricane. And I said, oh, so I went. So my wife said, you okay? And I said, I'm fine. And I was going back to work. So I drove down, and I was going to a friend of mine's down there around Coles, close to the mall.
Mhm.
Behind there, I guess that's where I wound up. But I was turning around, and I got stuck, and I didn't know how to put it in 4-wheel drive. I couldn't do anything. And so one of the neighbors called the law, thought maybe I was drunk. I was playing the ditch there.
Yeah.
And so the police come, and they found, they figured out I wasn't drunk and I had a medical problem. So they called the ambulance. Well, Ricky Ramey was there. Well, Ricky gets in the ambulance. They tell me that he rode to the hospital with me. Well, the FBI's doing all this stuff. He ain't said a word about that.
Amazing.
And so they fly me out that day to Tallahassee. I stay in the hospital. Then I get back. I get back the first week of November, like the 31st or 1st or whatever. And then, so all that was going, and I started trying to help Margot because I was reading all the stuff, and they was telling me about that. And they was indicted some people. They indicted her in August. They indicted me in March 16th, I believe, of 21.
Yeah.
This happened in 18. But I'd caused them so much problems with the lawyers and all, helping Margot and all that, because they had her charged with everything. Said I had her on my boat, yacht, down in Key West the first week of November. And I flew her down there on my airplane, and I was entertaining her for future votes.
Understand what James is saying. They're saying a couple of weeks after Hurricane Michael, when Mayor Anderson was the one actually driving around in a cart, bringing people water, tired, sore, going through the rubble. And they were the ones, Chief Ricky Ramey, Michael White, they had a fancy condo on the beach. They were the ones partying on a fancy condo. You are recovering from your stroke, and she's working. And the FBI said that she was floating around on your yacht in Key West, but there was a problem with that story.
Yes, there was a real problem with that. So
To let everybody know
well, they indicted me
about the yacht.
Yeah. Well, I get the indictment. I'm reading that I was down there entertaining her on my yacht, and so we go to the judge and say, "Judge, we've got a problem here. Here's where the first week of November, I'm in the hospital. Here's where I'm in the hospital in a coma. And I said, here's my bill of sale where I sold my boat 5 months before the hurricane come. I didn't have a boat. She wasn't on the boat. And somebody was doing this, lying to the grand jury.
Wow.
And I said, they lied to the grand jury. And so we want you to throw it out because I've been indicted on lies. Democratic judge, Obama appointed. I can't believe that. I'm not going to put up with the government doing this and the government doing that. As easy it is to get a indictment. The old saying is you can indict a ham sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, they didn't even, with all the resources they got, they didn't go check you on your boat. They didn't go check on your airplane. My airplane, I didn't even have my airplane. It was off being painted they put the airplane on the TV, channel 7, that I was supposed to be flying Margot, channel 13, flying Margot out. It was the old paint job. So I knew something was wrong. And so I got some lawyers and we went through it. So they finally, and almost 3 years later, they indicted me. And so I was trying to throw myself in. And this is what really caused me a bunch of problems because I pissed them all off pretty good. I had got people all over the state sending me clippings on the prosecutor that was prosecuting me.
Stephen Coons.
His name was Stephen Coons. And I know these people's not going to believe this, but this is absolutely the truth. You can look it up. It's the Eisenberg case. This young couple down in South Florida had their baby kidnapped out of their house.
This is the early 2000s. It was on Nancy Grace.
Yes. Hey, they kidnapped the baby. And so the state investigates it for a year and a half, and they give up on it. So Stephen Coots, a young prosecutor, he takes it up, opens the file, has the judge give him a 90-day wiretap to their house on the phones. Well, it run out, and from what I understand, he signed the judge's name 3 or 4 more times to keep it on there. So
this is the same prosecutor that went after you and Margaret.
yeah. So he comes in and he goes to the grand jury and says, "We got him." He said, "They killed the baby in the shed." He said, "Mr. Eisenberg said it must have been the cocaine." So the defense says, "We need to see this." So anyway, they bring all these tapes, 200 or 300 tapes and all that, and they go through the tapes. They go through them again. They can't find nothing. They go to judge and say, "Judge, we can't find anything in it." So the judge gets a committee up to listen to the tapes. They can't find anything. So he calls the main justice in Washington, D.C. They all fly down to Tampa, I believe it was. Pay the lawyers $2 million, drop all the charges. The USA, which is the United States Attorney, hauls something. He says, "Coots, you'll never prosecute another case in this middle district ever." So they demoted him to student loans. They didn't put his ass in jail. They should have done that, but they didn't put him in jail. Student loans. So he stays there, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, and he transfers to the state. I believe it's Volusia County. He goes down there, finds out that the county judge and the clerk, one of the clerks, is getting porn sent to the courthouse. So he has them all arrested. So the county judge was a big guy in the community, big guy in the church. He's so upset, he sticks a gun in his mouth, blows his head off. So this prosecutor slides out the door like a snake and goes on down, quits there, goes to Tallahassee and hires on with his buddies. And now he's the prosecutor in the Northern District, and he's after me.
Stephen Coons.
So I hired the USA that was out of Miami and used to be the number 3 man in the Justice Department. So he goes over there and he sees them. Coons tells him, says, "James has got to be guilty of something. He's been in a construction business 40 years." And
Wow.
so that was the deal.
Well,
there.
with all those counts, they should have put one of them that you did in there.
Yeah. So, a lot of people don't understand the grand jury. There was a few months ago, there was 2 countries in the whole world that used the grand jury. And that's just one because Liberia quit. So
Yep.
there's no judge there. There's only 2 prosecutors, and there's you.
Yeah, and 25 anonymous citizens.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I was lucky enough to get the transcript, but he should have thrown it out. I mean, why in the hell wouldn't he throw it out if it was a fact that I was indicted on a lie?
Yeah.
So all they did was the lawyers just got, they could feed off of it. My lawyers and all that. I wound up spending $4.8 million. But I got the prosecutor's job. I got the FBI. They retired. I got the major. He retired. They all went to running under the log. So if the FBI ever comes up to anybody and says, I need to talk to you, you say, well, about what? If it's anything criminal, you say, hold up a minute, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm going to get my attorney to meet you. Well, he'll leave then, but there'll be 2 of them. And so one of them takes notes and the other one talks to you. So if you talk to them, then they go back and says, I think he lied. Don't you think he lied? He said, oh, yeah. So now they can charge you with a felony of making a false statement to the grand jury. I mean, to the FBI. So that's what they got Margot for.
Yeah. But James, you said one time to me, you said, I knew I was telling them the truth. I figured they were trying to help, find out who stole the money.
Right.
And you asked him, am I a target or a witness or
suspect?
Yeah. And
they said a witness.
Yeah. They said you weren't a target. They lied.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. If they say you lied, you go to prison.
That's right.
You don't even have to have lied. And that's the reason you need an officer of the court, a lawyer with you.
Well,
that's the reason.
Well, what you do, if you tell them you got an attorney and you're not going to talk to them, they'll leave. But first of all, if they come up there, if they got a warrant for you, they're going to tell you to turn around, and do that. So,
do you want to go into these these invoices that Margot? Let's do that.
Yes,
so this is what Mayor Anderson saw. These 5 invoices or so that the city was paying. You're not going to believe these invoices, but to your point, James, when the prosecutors went to the grand jury to get an indictment, they're going to say all the bad things that Margot did, for example, and you. And then if enough of them say, okay, that sounds like you can arrest him if you want to. That's what the indictment is. It's a charging document. And they could, but they told the grand jury that what we're going to show, she brought in just some papers with some numbers on it. She was really the one stealing. That's what they told the grand jury. We're going to show you the papers with numbers on it. But first, I do have to thank a couple of sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Strong, effective leadership. 3 words that could mean the difference between prison and your freedom. I'm Al Saleen, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777.
James, I actually have a short video of what Judge Walker should have told the prosecutor.
Were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or are you not, in fact, a chronic and habitual liar?
I mean, isn't that what you expected?
Yes.
Let's take a look at these invoices that y'all found and brought to Sheriff Tommy Ford. And we're going to see how the City of Lynn Haven paid Mickey White.
Could you bring up what they were supposed to pay?
Yeah.
The schedule of values.
Schedule of values. Okay, let's do that. Here it is.
it's down there, for laborers, it's $35 an hour.
Yeah.
So they charged 24 people, and at $35 an hour for 8 hours, I believe it's about $6,750, something like that per day for 24. So this first invoice here is $13,849 a day.
What date is that?
This is in 11/13, November 13th. And then they went from anywhere from $13,000 a day to $86,000 a day for the same 24 people.
So break this down.
This-
What's on the left here?
What's on the left is
The number of people.
24 people, and that's, I think, for 24 days right there.
Yep.
And on the bottom of it, the total amount is how much money? I ain't got let's see it right here.
Yep, that's it.
$332,000 for 24 days. The next invoice is for 7 days, I believe.
Is it this one?
Is that 7 days?
Yeah.
7 days, and it's $70-something thousand a day and $83,000 a day for 1 day.
Wow.
But anyway, that's
This is how much the city is paying ECS for 24 people that day.
yes, that day.
Wow.
And so now this is cleaning up the cemetery. Doesn't it say the cemetery in there? Yeah.
Yep.
So they cleaning
Yep.
up the cemetery. There's no trees in the cemetery. I thought maybe they changed out the vaults. So what the hell? And so there's $527,000 for that day. And the other invoice is for
This for this.
400. And
Is this the 6th?
this is for
Yeah.
Yeah,
this is
7/6.
one here.
for 7 days here. It's $428,816.
There's a total at the bottom.
And this is another cemetery. And then Sheffield Park in the cemetery, and it's 67,000 a day, 69,000 a day, 54,000 a day with no backup. So they're having a meeting. They're having a meeting on the 15th. So Jay Moody was in that meeting, and Vicky Gaynor and them was in the meeting.
And Jay Moody was the accountant.
He was an accountant that was trying to help him. He says, we cannot pay this. There's not enough backup for the people and whatever. So I'm saying we need to hold up and get some more information on this. Well,
look at this one here. There's one with no people that work.
yeah, that's later on.
Okay.
Let's just finish these three right
Okay.
here, because when he gets up, Michael White gets up that day and leaves the meeting. Within an hour, he gets a check. And he gives them a check. And the check right here, I think you got it on the screen. Yeah. $1,288,716.
Wow.
City of Lynn Haven. But look when they paid it. The same day, 11/15, when they have the meeting. The invoice was 11/13 and 11/12. I mean,
Does everybody get paid that fast?
well, let me tell you, these are false invoices. He didn't have 24 people, and he wasn't hauling debris.
How do you know?
He didn't have any trucks. Contract says that he was supposed to
Wow.
fix maintenance on the buildings. The city hired 3 national haulers to haul that. So the city, all they had to do was check at those landfills or with FEMA, because FEMA itemized every load that went out there and who brought it. They didn't even check that. They were stealing the money. And how do you get $4.9 million when you don't have any trucks to haul the debris with? But that equates to 62,000 dump truck loads. 62,000 dump truck loads
In what period of time?
over probably 3. Well, this right here, that was over the period of time, but you can divide $4.70 in each number here, and you can figure how many loads he got. But I can tell you this, when 62,000 is a lot of loads, but you need to have at least a truck.
Right.
And he didn't have any trucks.
Wow.
So they processed this $4.9 million in these invoices. Everybody's sitting in the city hall we were talking about the bathroom that I seen they were building. That bathroom was right out the window from where Vicky Gaynor was sitting. And for 2 months, she didn't know the guy there didn't have a contractor's license. She didn't know the guy had charged damn near $300,000 for that bathroom. What upset me, I built a bathroom at Porter Park down there for the City of Lynn Haven, and it was on a bid. And my bid was $56,000 for the bathroom. And he got like $300,000 for the one there outside Vicky's door. But there's the check for the $1,288,000. And there's nothing changed at the city hall. Michael White's went to jail. He's out of prison now. He's back. But Vicky's still
He
there.
only served less than half his time or something.
Yeah, Vicky's there.
Wow.
Ricky's still there. Everybody's there. You know, and what happened with the Ricky Ramey deal? And Vicky saved his job for what all he did. You reckon she's got? I seen a friend of mine that worked in the sewer plant there for years and years. I said, "What happened?" He lost his job, and he just said, "Vicky," and he left. Okay, but I know that this last week you had a show. They had another suit filed, a federal suit filed, which is really, really a bad deal that happened to that guy, and that was on Vicky's house.
Yeah,
But she's up there, and I wrote a letter up there, and I said, "Y'all giving her $166,000. She started up there at about $40,000, and in a few years, she had sucked up to Michael White while he was city manager, like a sick cat to a hot brick." And so she just went to bragging on him, telling him how much she loved him, how good he worked and all that. And she just kept getting racist. Anyway, I said, the mayor wanted to give her $185,000. They give her $166,000. The governor makes $140,000. The governor's cabinet makes $139,200, I believe it is. She makes $26,000 more than the governor. He's got a degree from Yale and one from Harvard, and I think she went to Rosenwald. And but whatever, she's not. I told her, I said, you reason she didn't like me is because I called her out about these paying this out, and she paid me one invoice that I did for the city for $60,000. The next week, I get another $60,000 check, and I take it to the city hall. I said, "Hey, y'all pay me twice." The next week, I get another $60,000 check.
Three duplicate checks.
Three checks. And I asked her what the hell was going on. And then she turned on me, which that's fine. And so I've turned on her too, you can tell. I want the city to have the proper people up there, because that's a great city. And but if you paid these invoices here and it's supposed to be $35 an hour, now show the invoices.
But James, why didn't Sheriff Ford and his crack investigators? I mean, this is pretty easy stuff, James.
Hey,
look, can I just tell you, if I see that they ECS hauls 65,200 loads, and they don't have a truckloads, and they don't have a truck, that's called a clue. And you'd think Sheriff Ford and his crack investigators and the FBI would have known that.
Let me tell you about Sheriff Ford. He didn't know what to do, so he turned it over to the FBI and his guys, and he just kind of sat back because he's lazy as hell. Everybody, I call him Kodak Tommy, because when they'd have the interviews, he'd jump up there and they'd give him something to read,
Yeah.
Because when I had all that stuff on Koontz about having a man and his wife charged for murder on a lie, I sent that to Tommy. And you know what Tommy did with it? I said, "Tommy, I don't have anything to do with this." I thought I had a pretty good alibi. I was in a damn coma. And Tommy sends it to him.
He sends it to the
Koontz.
prosecutor.
Koontz, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So man, he's after me now. He's really after me, and we kind of got each other, I guess.
Yeah.
And but
Yeah, because he ended up when you filed that bad actor motion and Judge Walker was interested, he retired quickly.
yeah,
The prosecutor and the FBI agent had retired before that.
well, the
old
FBI
one.
agent, the FBI agent kind of lied under oath, sitting up there next to the judge, and he kind of let him off of it. Next one come up where it was a sheriff's major. He lied under oath. He kind of retired later on too. But then
I was amazed that Chief Judge Mark Walker allowed Vicky Gaynor clearly lied under oath.
yes,
It
she did 2 or 3
completely
times.
contradicted what she told the FBI on several occasions.
I can read it to you out of her stuff.
I mean, it's amazing what Judge Walker let go in that case.
Yes. But I mean, Judge Walker did not throw the case out. Since then, in June, after all this was over with, the Supreme Court did away with a 666 bribery charge. Said it was unconstitutional.
Which does not require evidence.
That's right.
Only half
That's
the country was. If it were today, you and Margot,
couldn't be
there would
charged.
be no charges because they used this obscure, believe it or not, it's called a Section 666 charge that only requires a wink and a nod to put somebody in prison for bribery. It requires no evidence.
Well, they
Well,
said
the Supreme Court threw that out last year.
they left Tallahassee after 2 or 3 indictments. They go to Pensacola over there and they get one in Pensacola. It takes them 2 minutes to get an indictment. And so they said that I had sold Margot's husband, which worked for me 30 years and worked with me. And I sold him an old motorhome. And they said that I give it to him. I bribed him with a motorhome so they could use this 666 charge, because on a bribery, the definition of bribery is this for that. Everybody knows, and it takes 2 people to bribe somebody.
Quid pro quo,
It
and
ta-
it
it-
has to be in proximity.
It takes 2 people to do a bribe, right?
Yeah.
Well, you remember at my second trial, they didn't even bring Barnes as a witness. Their witness. So they over there trying to get me to plead guilty. Anything to do, whatever they get me to plead guilty. Sign off on a felony like Margot had to do. Margot, they says, we're going to drop 63 charges on you, and you plead guilty to this one charge. So she was crying, and she asked me, and I said, Margot, you do what you want to do, but let me tell you what's going to happen. They've got them 4 guys that's been waiting 2 years to get sentenced. And every one of them's going to get up there and say that Vicky would said, I've stole everything I could steal. I'd still be stealing if I could. But if she says that she didn't know me, she's a bigger liar than I am a thief. And he'd got a lesser sentence, vice versa.
They were letting everybody lie,
Yes.
and they got her on what was not a lie.
They asked her, when did you meet Mickey White? She said, I think it was in November or December. They said, oh, no, you lied. They had a commission meeting at Mosley in late October, and you was introduced, Michael White introduced him to everybody. So that's what she went, and when they made a deal with her deal was plead guilty to that, it'll all be over. They had 1,050 years worth of charges against her.
Yeah.
They had chained her up, her school teacher of the year and all that, chained her up, took her over there. And so
Yeah, they told her if when you're found not guilty, we'll be on the steps and we'll re-indict you. So you might as well take the deal. Hey, let me do this. Let me the election's coming up in Panama City next month, and Mayor Rowan is up for re-election. And oh my gosh, Panama City's keeping me busy. They were up to more shenanigans today. I'm going to have to tell you about that soon.
When we partner with them, they will get the fund, they will get the slip rents, they will get everything probably for 60 years. So that is income that we in the city won't get. We'll still, either way we go, we're going to have a marina. I don't think there's any doubt about that. The question is, who's going to get the funds from the marina? And if we have the funds ourselves, I think that then we could start reducing the fire tax.
Vote for Doc Rowan for Panama City Mayor on or before April 22nd. So, James, what else do you want people to know tonight? You can come on anytime.
Did you have the invoices that didn't have any people on it?
Yes, let's show that. This is unbelievable. Did you hear that? Let's show the invoices that don't have anybody working that got paid right away. Crazy. Right here. Here it is. Look, there's nothing under unit or quantity.
No. How much is that invoice for?
I don't see it as on the very bottom, but it's all those numbers added up. It was like 280,000 or something.
Yeah.
Or 500. It was a lot.
But anyway, but you see on the top there where it says pay per Michael White.
Yeah.
On the front there.
Yeah, the city manager said,
But
go ahead and pay that. There's nobody working.
Now, all these are going through there, and they paying this without FEMA reimbursement. This is out of the city's coffers because FEMA hadn't started paying a lot of these bills.
The total was 479.
479,000 on a fake invoice.
With nobody working. Oh my God. Wait, do you hear that? Michael White approved $500,000 to ECS with nobody working.
They're all in this trailer. You know, it's not a very big trailer. It's probably 2,000 square feet, 2,500 square feet, and they're all in there, and they just going out millions going out. And they didn't match the payments against the $35 an hour. They didn't do anything. The contract was for maintenance on the buildings. Mickey was doing maintenance on them because he was not hired to haul any debris. Only 3 debris haulers were hired, and which was Ashbrett, Crowder Guff, and Sirius. They fired Sirius, and so
it's just incredible.
Well, you know, there's some lawsuits going on, and in the city is going to be liable. Some of it, there's serious lawsuits. And Vicky Gaynor, like I said, it was the common denominator in all this money going out. She won't admit it, and she's going to say, I've got it in here, that she says she was putting together the city, that she didn't have anything to do with the debris. Page 275.
Here she is, though. She's the look at that.
Huh? Oh yeah, all the contracts go.
I mean, it shows right there that she's the deputy. They called her the deputy city clerk. I don't think that she said she was not the deputy city clerk, right? She was the contracts manager.
No, she had the contract manager, and then she changed her title. She went to all through those, and then she was acting city manager. She was never assistant city manager.
Yeah.
She was the active city manager, which is right here. This right here, you can show. I think you got that on the screen.
I don't know if I have this, but I'll see if I can. I'll post these. That's I probably won't be, but I'll post these if you want me to. That's important. James has like a big stack of papers, you know.
Yeah. But anyway, I went through this. I went through the famous Texas. You know what I'm saying? When they give me the transcript of the secret grand jury, also come along with that was all the evidence that the FBI and the police, the sheriff, or whoever put in there in the evidence. They had to give it to me within 48 hours. So I had everybody's 302, what they said, when they said it, and I'd see them and they'd come tell me this about that, and I'm sitting there knowing they're lying because I done read what they said.
Yeah, and that 302 is the FBI's formal investigation note.
But what really caused me a lot of problem was, you remember how the FBI was treating all those guys in the Trump deal surrounding their house and doing all the stuff. Well, I knew they were going to arrest me sooner or later. And because I was helping Margot and their attorneys, judge approved it. And so I told him I wanted to self-surrender. They said, we've told you, we'll let you know at the appropriate time. Okay. So I knew what they were going to do. They were going to do like they did Margot. They come around, there were 14 carloads of policemen, all the blue lights surrounded her house. She was going to see her grandbabies, Jacksonville. So they sat out there with the blue lights on 12 or 14 police cars for 2 hours in the city. But they went and arrested her in Jacksonville, chained her up with leg irons and a halter, took her to jail. So so I got up every morning about 5 o'clock and took a bath and all in case they come over there. And I got tired of doing that. So I sent them a email and says, I want to come to the grand jury. That kind of made me mad. And I said, I got a right to come. So they said, okay, you be here next Tuesday. This was on Thursday. Tuesday at 9 o'clock, Tallahassee. So Monday I get up, I pack my bag, I go to Tallahassee. I rent me a hotel across from the courthouse. And so I sent them an email, said, I'm not coming Tuesday. Changed my mind. So sure enough, the next morning, my wife calls me at 6 o'clock. They've surrounded the house, beating on the door, everywhere around the yard, all in the driveway, like I was going to come running by like Bob Hayes or somebody. And so.
Oh, my God. Bob Hayes was the world's fastest man in 1964.
Yeah.
He broke the record for the Olympics and played for the Dallas Cowboys. I know Bob Hayes. Bullet Bob, they thought you were, James.
Yeah. So anyway, they surrounded the house, and she come to the door. They said, Mr. Finch here? She said, no, he's over in Tallahassee waiting on y'all. You can call him on his phone or you can come in here and look. Oh, he gets on the phone and he calls me up and he's just screaming.
The special agent?
Yes.
Borghini?
Yeah, he's screaming. He says, where are you at? I said, who is this? He says, this is Special Agent Borghini. I said, well, you too fat to be screaming like that. You're going to be blowed a damn fuse. Oh, and he's just screaming, I want to know where you at. So my other,
they raided your home and you weren't there.
Hey, my other lawyer, Margot's lawyers, I was their office in Tallahassee. And they were over there. They were about to pee on themselves because I'm messing with the guy. And I said, is there somewhere you want me to go? He said, yes. I said, where's that? And he says, 663 East Jefferson Street. I'll never forget it, which was the FBI office. And so I took the phone, I said, boom, boom, boom. Hello, and I just hung it up. I said, well, look, we're going to wait another hour and a half before we go over there, and I won't have to sit in their cell so long because it's going to take 200 miles an hour to get over there before that. And so we get in there.
So he had to drive from Panama City all the way back to Tallahassee.
He had to drive to Tallahassee as fast as he could, but he had everybody in Tallahassee coming over here to Channel 13 to put on this big show. Had Kodak Tommy coming over there.
I was there. I was in there. I thought you did it at the time.
And yeah.
They told me you did it. I believed them.
Yeah. So anyway, we go up there. He comes in, go up in front of the judge, and the judge is a magistrate. And he says, prosecutor says, judge says, this is Finch. He's been charged, blah, 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 all this stuff. He said, he's got 2 airplanes and he's got enough money to leave and not come back.
You're a flight risk.
And he's got the wrong lawyers. And the judge said, the wrong lawyers? He said, I've been doing this a long time, and a lawyer just don't stumble in here unless he's being paid, which was pretty humorous. And so I raised my hand and said, Judge, can I say something? Yeah. I said, I've been in Lynn Haven all my life. My office is 2 blocks from where I was born. I said, you might put me in jail one day, but the day I get out, I'm going to be back in Lynn Haven. I said, my family's there, and that's what I'm going to be. And I said, I can lay my pilots off and do that. Whatever COVID was going on. I said, I've been over in that hotel waiting 2 days to come over here. And he said, you been in the hotel over there? I said, yes, sir. I said, they wouldn't let me self-surrender. They wanted to put on a big show, and they mad because I come over here. He said, well, Mr. Finch, you're going to be able to go home today on your word, and you're going to be able to use your airplane, but you're going to have to go through this pretrial guy here and tell him where you're going and, and all that stuff. So he was really nice. And he says, now the wrong lawyers. I said, my lawyer asked them to come over here because my lawyer's from Miami and he didn't know they was going to do this morning. And he asked them to come assist me. He said, well, that's fine. And he told the prosecutors, if y'all got a problem with the lawyers, take it up with the judge, because I went in front of another judge. He was just a magistrate.
Right.
And so they were mad about that. Tickle me.
James, the bottom line here is the people responsible for all of this are still there. Vicky Gaynor, in my opinion, Vicky Gaynor.
The sheriff not doing his job and, everything else. I mean, nobody.
And you got a mayor there who's unfit for office. You've got the police chief, who everybody knows
Let me tell you something.
is out of hand.
Hey, Vicky
And
Gaynor.
an election coming up in next month.
Vicky Gaynor went and hired a lawyer twice for him to save his job. After he's on the Facebook.
For Chief Ramey, yeah.
Yeah. And now he's on there. The city of Panama City fired 5 of them for having no integrity about looking in the computer on the special affairs or internal affairs and lied to the chief. So he wiped them all out. Ricky did way more than that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they went and got him a lawyer and did all that. He, on the text message, he was advertising his dildo on Facebook.
It was unbelievable. I mean, we've showed this crazy stuff. But James, what would you like to see happen in Lynn Haven?
You want to see all of it?
Yeah, we've shown them. Look, I mean, James came with all of them.
It's named the Goose.
Look, this is a text message from. This is a text message from. Oh my gosh, what am I showing you? That's from Chief Ricky Ramey and the mayor over there, Jesse Nelson.
Here it is. This is.
Oh boy.
Let's see. The hot librarian needs to feel good. I will be all about you, I promise. Hell, I'll bring Goose just so you can see your reaction. Hope you have a safe trip. Sorry for the.
So this is Ricky Ramey's text messages to a lady?
Yes. Hey. I mean, it's all kind of stuff. There was 31,000 texts in there between him and.
And you
all
got
of
this
them.
in Discovery.
I got every one of them.
Yeah. Well, James, it's probably about time we wrap it up on a high note.
Yeah, it is. Well, I want everybody to know that I'm still going to challenge the city of Lynn Haven to do an audit up there so the people can see just where they're at financially, because, the mayor has bullied everybody. I guess you've shown that.
Yeah.
I mean, that was, if they have not seen that, they need to look it up your show and see what kind of bully the mayor is. And he has been absolutely awful to the citizens of Lynn Haven. They all went up there and lined up to talk about Ricky Ramey, item number 12. So the mayor makes you sign up to talk. He's got a stopwatch up there, big as a suitcase. You get 3 minutes, and he argues with you and takes up most of your 3 minutes. But I mean, it's awful. You need to see he made a commercial about himself and show you just who this guy is.
Yeah, but there needs to
So
be
I'll
some
probably get a
integrity.
ticket on the way home.
Yeah, be careful.
But
All right.
I would like for everybody to look at that and see what they think. I love the city of Lynn Haven. I had a hard time filing suit against the city of Lynn Haven, but this is the only way that I can bring this out.
Yeah, you can't get,
know
I mean,
what I'm
through
saying?
subpoenas, you might be able to get more truth out.
Yeah.
So everybody, I'm sure, is wondering, James, what are you doing right now? What are these lawsuits? Who are they against and so on?
The lawsuit I got filed right now is Vicky Gaynor individually, the city of Lynn Haven, and Panhandle Engineering. And but that's what I've got filed. The federal suit was against Ricky Ramey individually, another police officer individually, and the city of Lynn Haven. And there's a lot of lawsuits up there. You can't get anything out of there. They won't talk to you. They're not very transparent at all. And it's the mayor. And the mayor is a bully.
Yeah. But James, I'll tell you this though. There's two sides to that. They, you know, these guys up there are being wimps.
Yes.
You know, I
Yes.
mean, they're allowing, I see all of them sitting there for 10 minutes frustrated, and nobody has the courage to say, I make a motion. I move that we pass the gavel because of Mayor Nelson's misconduct, or I move that we recess based on Mayor Nelson's misconduct or something. But everybody sits there and just tries to, you know, you got Jamie Warwick right now, who's the only one trying to do the right thing, but he keeps saying, I'm trying to work with the city. We're trying to work together. Jamie, the commission is not your constituent. It's normal for members of a commission to disagree with each other. Stop letting them gaslight you and think that you have to agree and be one team. I mean, you're up there to have your own opinion and represent the people who put you there. I mean, it blows my mind.
You know what? I think the taxes and the property taxes going to be a big issue in the next few months, because I think the city's really, really in worse shape than most people think. And if not, that'd be great too. If not, then show it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And
All right.
so-
Well,
I appreciate everything.
Yeah, James,
and,
absolutely.
And I hope the citizens look at that. I mean, there's no excuse for this. These payments were made. This is just a few of them. It all equates to $4.9 million of fake invoices.
Yeah.
Some of them for $479,000 without anybody listed who they were, where they're working. Just give a date and 39,000, 59,000, up to 83,000. It is supposed to be $35 an hour per person.
It's outrage.
So I mean, that's something to get concerned about.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say.
And nobody's changed up there. There's nothing changed up there. You got the same leaders.
Yeah. Well, let's do it again, James. And I also want to get Mayor Margot Anderson on the show. We've been talking about that for a while.
Well,
but
I would like for you to get Barnes on the show. I mean, Barnes is the
I've
one
never really talked to him in
Barnes
person.
is
I would like to.
Barnes is a really guy that got really screwed. I mean,
He
he
sure
was just,
did.
I mean,
Yeah.
he got, you know, this guy, they accused me of bribing Barnes. And I got the board over there. I went back and there was 290 votes over 23 years that I had on the agenda, where it was my construction company, mine or whatever, 290 votes. That's, 5 votes or 4 votes during the commission. Every one of them was unanimous. Never had a vote against any of my contracts or anything. And they said I bribed him. Well, I mean, I need to bribe more than one. I mean, hell, you got to have 3 votes.
and by the way, Vicky Gaynor lied to the court on that, onto the witness. She said that Judy Tinder voted against you.
Yeah, it is.
Until Margot Anderson got arrested, and then she was always voting with you. That was a lie, because your attorney brought out the list of votes, and just another example of lying to the judge. Hey, I want to quickly thank the Unknown Patriot for your support. Appreciate it so much, as always. And those of you who throw a tip in the tip jar right here as well. We've shown James where when she made that claim, and then the lawyers brought out all the votes, and she said, "Oops, I made a mistake."
Yeah,
And
he said it was a monstrous mistake.
and the judge let her.
Yeah. It says right here.
He's got the testimony transcripts from one of the evidentiary hearing.
It says, couldn't this been stopped if somebody had checked the invoices? She says, absolutely, And then
That's this right here.
okay. See, I think in here was contradicted herself, twice. And she definitely lied several times. And on Judy Tender, she lied definitely. And Judy was in opposition to her and to Michael White. Matter of fact, she was the only one that voted against Michael White.
And she called for an audit of the city.
Do I?
She called for an audit.
They hadn't got one yet, so I know of.
All right, James.
All right.
Well, we'll
Thank
do it
you.
again, huh?
All right.
Thanks for being with me, and I will see you again tomorrow.